Hi card making friends, Sandi McIver here, and today I am sharing Stacked Stenciling, a masculine winter birthday card. And the products I'm using today, Distressed Oxide inks in Broken China, Mermaid Lagoon, Chipped Sapphire, and I've got some blending brushes, the Slimline Double Tree Stencil, the Deer Family dies, the Happy Birthday Word Topper dies, and the Starry Sky Sequins, all from Picket Fence Studios. We're going to be starting with a 4 1/4 by 5.5 piece of white hammer mill card, and I'm attaching it to my work surface so that I don't have to hold on to it while I'm doing my stenciling. I'm putting the first piece down, and I'm actually using the top of this stencil to get that first layer of trees in, and I'm starting with the lightest color of Distressed Oxide, which is the Broken China. And I'm just working my way across the trees, putting down that first layer. I'm not worrying about whether it's even or not because I'm going to be doing multiple layers, and we're also going to do some paint splatter over top. So the texture is going to show through, but it's going to look really cool. So don't worry about getting it even. It actually looks nicer when it's not quite even because then you get the detail of each of the trees. And as you see, I am moving my stencil back and forth. That's one cool thing about having a slimline stencil. You've got lots of real estate and different trees to try out so that they don't all look the same. So I've done 3 layers in the light color, and now I'm just coming in and I'm adding the medium color, the Mermaid Lagoon, just to the top of those trees. I'm going back to the other stencil now, and I am going to add a layer of the trees in Mermaid Lagoon because that's my medium color. And then finally, I'm going to move my stencil up again and move it over so that I've got different trees. And this time I'm going to be blending with the Chipped Sapphire, which is the darker of the colors. It's almost got a purple tinge to it, but not quite. It's kind of cool. But it made me decide to make purple deer for this card, so that's kind of cool. Here's my second layer. And I'm going really light on this because this color can get really dark on you really quickly. And of course, it's easier to add more ink than it is to take it off. And you see I got it quite dark there. Now with my sky, it's very white, so without re-inking, I'm just adding that purple in there, and I'm going to take my other blue brushes and add that blue back in there without re-inking. And then I just added a little bit of ink to the Chipped Sapphire to do the very top. And I'm using the Broken China brush just to fill in any of the white spots in my trees. Now I'm adding some white paint to one of my acrylic handles and just mixing it with some water, and I'm going to be doing some splatter. And you'll see that I've got 2 different sizes of paintbrushes. I like to do this. That way I get different sizes of splatter. So I start with the biggest of the brushes, and I'm just going to do some major splatter going on there. And then I switch over to the medium for a few smaller ones. And then if you want even tinier splatters, tap it against your finger and you'll get a really, really fine splatter, which is kind of cool. And of course, we need to let this dry, so we're going to set it aside and move on to something else. While we're waiting for the paint to dry, let's do the die cutting. So we're going to do both of the deer in purple, and then I've got a nice blue for and it's Gina K Lagoon that I'm using for the sentiment. And I'm actually going to cut the sentiment out 3 times and stack it. A little bit about these dies, these word topper dies. The lettering is long and skinny and very tall, and so you have to use a good quality cardstock. Otherwise, they kind of tip around a little bit. Now, I just showed you a couple of stamp sets to go with these word toppers. They have a couple of sets, and they're called Word Topper Die Subtitles, and they fit in that strip of cardstock right underneath where the die cut is. And it's very cool. There's 2 sets, and they cover pretty much all occasions. And again, I'm using birthday, so happy birthday, have a great day. And I'm just embossing it with white embossing, and I did that so that it would kind of go with the snow on my card. So I'm just heat setting this to make it permanent. And now I'm going to use my Barely Art glue to glue these all together. The reason I love this thing is it's got a really great fine tip for this kind of detail, And the glue gives you a couple of seconds to move your pieces around, but it also dries clear. It doesn't leave a smudge, which is really nice. So I highly recommend this glue. I use it all the time. So again, I'm stacking this, and then the top layer is going to be the one that I did the heat embossing on with the additional sentiment. So I'm just going to attach that now. And I'm not going to make you go through me adding all those little dots of glue. There we go, got it nice and stacked. Make sure all of your little letters are all lined up. And we're ready to go. You might get little kind of shards of paper. I find using a really stiff stencil brush pushes most of those off. Okay, so now we're ready to start layering these to our cards. I am going to add some glue to the back of the first deer. And I don't have my word topper glued down yet, but I'm going to use that for placement. So I'm just kind of sticking it on there. I want the feet to be in behind. So just using that kind of to gauge. And then the Mrs. Deer. Adding just a little bit of glue. That's enough to hold it in there, no problem. And again, measuring where the feet are. I kind of want the feet to look like they're just standing on top of the solid part underneath the happy birthday cutout. So now I'm ready to add this. So again, I'm going to add all these little dots and get it all in there so that it sits nice and flat on my card. And also there's going to be an overhang because the word topper is wider than my card. And I'm going up a little bit because I have a little piece of glitter paper that I want to put along the bottom. And I'll do that just momentarily here. It's about a 1/16, and it's just a skinny little strip I wanted to add along the bottom because I have holographic stars at the top of my card, and I wanted something to coordinate with that at the bottom, so I just popped that in there. So now that everything's in place, you can just take a nice sharp pair of scissors and trim off the edges, and we're ready to put part of this card together. Don't forget to put the pin back in your glue. It's very important. You don't want that tip to dry up. So here's a little tip for you. I like to use my Score Buddy when I'm adding layers to the top of my cards. So I've got my top folding A2 over on the left-hand side, and I pop it into the corner, and then I use that corner to add my top. And I just need to run that through my cutter and get rid of that extra little strip that's along the side there. So there's 3 different sets of sequins that have kind of holographic stars or snowflakes. So the one that I'm just showing you, Starry Skies and Winter Lady, both have the holographic snowflakes. And for this video, I'm going to use them because they're a little bit bigger. When I originally did this one, I did the Starry Size sequins, and it has little tiny stars. But of course, they're very hard to see. Now I'm going to use my embellishing tool just to add the little glue and pick up all those little sequins and pop them back down again. It's a great tool if you don't have one. So here we are. Here's the finished cards. So the one on the left is the one that I had done previously, this one, and it has all the little tiny stars. See them sparkle? With the Merry Christmas word topper at the bottom. I like those little stars. And so then the one I just finished for you is the Happy Birthday one, and it has a little bit larger snowflakes with the Happy Birthday sentiment instead. I hope you enjoyed today's card.